We're going to turn our attention to more news making headlines now this hour. Cape Town has seen another wave of shootings this week, leaving several people dead. Now, the incident highlights ongoing concerns about violent crime across South Africa, the challenges of coordination between local, provincial and national authorities as well. So let's dive in further and unpack the lived reality for some who obviously take up real ownership. Well, for some. So we're asking who will be taking up real ownership on the fight against crime. Also, when is all that going to happen? Willem Else, ISS Senior Training Coordinator, is going to be joining us to weigh in further. So Willem, on that note, good morning and thank you for joining us here on the SABC at this hour.
Good morning, Liesl.
Willem, we're obviously looking at the incidences that happened in Cape Town this week, and we're trying to understand what exactly happened in these recent shootings in Cape Town. Talk to us about the violence in informal settlements as well. What is coming to the fore? Many are pointing to the fact that gangs are a central cause to all of this, but we're obviously looking at the more deeper issues. There's structural issues of poverty, of housing and unemployment as well. How would you weigh in?
Yes, Liesl, I think you nailed it. You know, we have to start at the drivers and those socio-economic drivers. Of course, they've been with us for quite some time. You know, we see back in the 90s already, there was a resurgence of pushback by the local communities with the Pagat movement that started off for the very reasons that the people are actually pushing back today. So we see that in these more than 30 years, not much has changed, and that's why it was so refreshing when last year the then Minister of Police actually came up with a strategy, and his strategy was to bring together all the different state departments that have control over some of these drivers, but also to look at breaking down the silos between the South African Police Service, the provincial police, as well as the city police in Cape Town, in order to see how they can pool resources, break down the silos, and come up with a plan to actually counter what is actually spiking today. But we saw that the minister in recent days mentioned that the non-implementation of this plan is actually troublesome.
Willem, we're going to get into that in just a moment. I just want to continue on the earlier point you made, because you really painted the picture and gave us context. I want to look at beyond Cape Town. We're seeing spikes in violent crime in Gauteng, in KwaZulu-Natal, and other provinces as well. And so we're trying to ascertain whether there's now a common thread that are running through these hotspots in particular.
Yeah, well, if you look at the organized crime index of South Africa, we see that our criminality levels are extremely high. We are number 3 in Africa, according to the latest index. We are number 7 in the world, and that is not where you want to be. But also in our region, we are number 1. So South Africa has got a problem with the spike in violent crimes. It seems that criminality has taken over, and it seems that the response is not what it's supposed to be in order to curb these resurgence in violent crimes.
Well, thank you for speaking to those stats as well and looking at where we stand regionally and globally. And so I want to now go back to the point you made about coordination, because we often hear that national and provincial authorities are working together to tackle crime, but incidences like these are obviously suggesting otherwise. The lived reality is, painting a different picture. What exactly is breaking down, Willem?
Okay, if you break it down, I think that is one of the challenges that we have for the accusations of General Makwanazi that actually pointed to us to some structural challenges and some operational and managerial challenges in order to curb this, and that is going to hopefully be aired in the commission as well as in Parliament. But at the end of the day, it actually focused on the responsibilities. We have to look at who's responsible in order to curb it. We have to look at what the role of the minister, the political oversight is, but also the operational level, because we need accountability. And that is where it boils down to. If we look at the minister, the plan, the strategy that he's drafted, he brought together, as I mentioned, all the different role players, and he came up with a strategy. Now, if you look at your section 206 in the Constitution, that is exactly what the minister has to do. That's his responsibility. And he has to also your civilian oversight. So what we see here where it seems that it's lacking is on the operational level. And that is solely the responsibility of your national commissioner as well as the operational heads of these different departments. So that begs the question, why did they not implement it? If you have a strategy, you have to have a implementation plan. We have to interrogate now and see where did they fail, and there needs to be accountability for that.
Well, Willem, so to your point, it's operational and lack of implementation. But I also wonder if we can't speak to political turf wars between provincial governments, even metros, national police structures. I mean, are these political dynamics making things worse as well, beyond what you've just echoed now?
Of course, and it's been coming for a long time,
Yeah.
especially since the Western Cape has been governed by the opposition party, but also a part of the GNU. But there's always been a turf war and a tug of war between the powers and also resources for the Western Cape. There's a long record of debate, of accusations, etc., that really didn't boil down or come down to real solutions. So that is why last year, when the minister came up with this strategy, focusing especially on cooperation and focusing on pulling of resources, but also looking at technology, it was really a fresh breeze, and we were really excited that this might be a turn in the tide. But we see that, unfortunately, because of the lack of implementation, it did not happen.
So, Willem, if we're looking at solutions ahead, if we're looking at how communities themselves are feeling, right, due to the lack of visible, coordinated policing, what is coming to the fore on that front? What are some of the practical measures as well that can be implemented at this point if we're going to address the issues of accountability, coordination, operation, and implementation at large?
Well, in the first place, we have to restore the trust levels of the public in the police. Yeah. Currently, it's at an all-time low. We're looking at your trust levels that hovers just above 20% of the public that actually trust the police. And the policing is a public policing partnership. And if we don't have that trust levels and a partnership between the community and the police, we are doomed to fail. And that is why it is important that there need to be the leadership need to be demonstrated in order to curb that. And the easiest way to actually restore that trust levels is a demonstration of competence by the police, and if the public can see results. So that is the one thing. And then the second thing is the elephant in the room, and that came to the fore in your different court cases that are currently before court, and that is your police corruption. If we can get a strategy and an implementation plan to root out police corruption in not only the Western Cape but in the whole of South Africa, I think we will make a massive strides into restoring the trust of the public, but also the efficiency of law enforcement.
Yeah, Willem, it's beyond press statements and press releases at this point, and it is about press. It is about instilling trust as well. The point about the Western Cape's push for more local control over policing, is that realistic? Is that necessary as well in light of the events that are occurring? If we're exploring possibilities and probabilities, is that an apt solution?
I think it is a solution, and that's a solution that's been pushed for more than 30 years. And South Africa is a big country. We have different regions. Every region has got different dynamics, different needs in policing, etc. Your criminality levels, your types of crime differ from province to province. So that is why it seems like a good idea, and something that need to be explored is to see that we can bestow more localized power, because currently your centralized power from Pretoria in governing your resources, in governing your priorities, etc., it really does not speak to the situation on the ground. And for instance, in KwaZulu-Natal, if they allocate more resources, more independence to the provincial commissioner in order to run his province effectively with these priorities, and without having to go to rely on Pretoria for some of his decisions, and the same for the Western Cape and the same for Gauteng, it might just help to bring a solution to that, and to make the police more effective in what they are doing.
All right, Willem, I know that we continue to explore all these questions that remain unanswered, but thank you for weighing in and for giving us some context. We'll leave the conversation there. I mean, for many South Africans, crime is not just an abstract statistic, it's a lived reality, right? And so as the crime continues to affect these communities across the country, we're asking the question about whether better cooperation is needed between the different levels, and you've obviously weighed in and made sense of that. Thank you, Willem Else from the Institute of Security Studies, their Senior Training Coordinator.